People have been calling out for a test of an MG on this channel, so I'm sure they'll be delighted that I'm driving an MG5. But stay with me, because this electric-only estate is perhaps one of the most practical EVs you can buy. Now, for my money, I think this is a very attractive car, somewhat understated, but actually quite stylish, I think. Electric only, although there are some versions in some markets that do have an engine, which is apparently shared with the Chinese market Buicks. It's not really an MG, despite the MG badge. It's actually a wrong way, and I'll put that up because it isn't spelt that way. It's two companies that were sort of took over the remnants of MG Rover. I'm not entirely sure how it happened, but two separate Chinese companies got the rights to build MG Rover cars, but not the name. So MG was one of those companies, and Wrongway was set up as the other, and they were both building cars, and now they're all part of SAIC, which also builds LDV vans. So it's weird how these things end up tying up again. But yeah, it's definitely one of the most ordinary electric cars you can buy. Now most manufacturers are offering an electric version, but when this came out back in 2019, I think it was kind of, it stood alone as the only ordinary EV. It's not like a Nissan Leaf trying to look all weird and interesting. It's not like a Tesla. It's just very, very understated. Somewhat like a Volkswagen Passat, I must admit. But yeah, quite an interesting car, and currently available to buy at about £27,000. Or I've seen deals where I put down a £4,000 deposit, £279 a month. And we've got a petrol station right here. And as oil prices go ever higher, suddenly electric isn't looking like not such a bad option at all. Do a quality check. Yeah, that sounds reasonably solid. Very somber interior, very typical modern vehicle. But lots of shiny plastic as well, so I think it actually looks quite nice in here, and the stalks actually feel quite nice to use. Interesting display ahead of us as well. If I just start her up. Oh, I have got the key, so I can't do that. Oh, smart key not detected. There we go. My dad's still got the key in his pocket because it is my dad's car. So we've got a little selector down here for drive or reverse. KERS, which amuses me quite a lot. That's your regen modes, and then you got separate modes for economy or sport. USB essentials, as you get these days, heater controls here, and then a fairly decent sized screen here for your infotainment. And typical modern electric noise, but you also get a little reminder there on the side mirrors. But yeah, these seats are quite firm, but quite supportive, quite figure hugging, you'll note. And yeah, it feels quite nice. I've got somewhere to rest my clutch foot, so it's feeling all of the good time. Buttons everywhere, because modern car. But this is the Excite. This is the lower spec. There are Excite and exclusive trim levels. But obviously you still get electric windows, air conditioning, power steering. You don't get electrically heated door mirrors though on this trim level. So my dad finds moderately annoying. Here in the rear, it feels quite spacious, decent amount of headroom, although the side pillar is really, really close to the side of my head. I don't know if that's because they're attempting to make it a full 5-seater in here. But you notice we've got airbags, head restraints, all sorts going on. Good knee room. I will say my feet are getting a bit caught under the seat. So that's not brilliant, but yeah, loads of knee room. You could certainly travel a fair distance here and not feel too hard done by, I feel. 60-40 split on the rear seat. We will take a look in the boot, but yeah, this is my dad's car, and my parents are a carer for my sister, so we might find the boot is rather cluttered. So we've got this cover in the load area, nice and easy to use and can be removed. And you notice one thing I'm not a huge fan of on an estate is this high lip. Really is quite high. Look, that's, you know, above knee level, but it does mean you've got a very deep boot. So it takes my sister's wheelchair very conveniently. I think that's probably cables for charging. And yeah, it's a decent space. It's not ridiculous. It's slightly sports tourer-ish. It's not the most square rigged of estates, but nonetheless, that's a useful amount of space. And, oh yeah, that actually works really, really well. Well, if we have a look under the bonnet, there is absolutely nothing to see. You can see where to top up the screen wash, and some sort of vital fluid, but they've decided to just cover up the motor entirely. But there is a motor down there. It produces up to 260 newton meters of torque, I think it is. So a decent amount of shove, as you'd expect in an electric car. But yeah, not very much to look at. Well, we can see the beauty of the wipers now. Nice angled wiper arm on the driver's side. The charge port is located up here at the front, and we've got your normal charging there, and like is so often these days, a separate plug for your DC rapid charging, so you can charge it up pretty quickly if you're on the move. The battery pack is 52.5 kilowatt hours. Just after my dad took delivery of this one, they upgraded the battery pack to give more range. It's now 62 kilowatt hours, I think. Claim range of this one was 217. I don't think my dad's got anywhere near that, but then you never do with these claim figures. But still, I look back to when I was doing road trips in the Nissan Leaf that had a 30 kilowatt hour battery pack, and yeah, that's quite the leap. That's going to make you feel a lot more comfortable. But it's absolutely freezing, and I think we should actually go for a drive next. Haha, we talk about quality. Apparently this is a thing that happens occasionally. The door handle gets stuck. But there we go, we're in. Right, foot on the brake pedal, press the go button. I'm not sure why I need to put my foot on the brake button. There we go, the displays are waking up. Weirdly, this is the only EV I've ever driven that also gives you a voltage readout for the normal voltage for the 12 volt system. We're at 83% of the battery. It reckons 154 miles of range, and we are in level 2 regen, but if I press that, we're now in level 3. So I shall go for drive. There we go. I hear the handbrake turning off. As we ease away, we can just hear the gentle hum of some fake noise to warn people that we are coming. Straight away, this steering wheel feels very weird with this flat bottom edge, but yeah, nice comfortable driving position. We shall give it a test over one of the worst car parks I've ever travelled in, and it copes pretty well with what is a horrible surface. Oh wow, Range Rover in Monte Carlo blue, very nice. So with the maximum regen, I can do some nice one pedal driving, but I do finally have to hit the brakes. And that has been one of the reported issues, especially living close to the coast. With all the regen on offer, you don't really need to use the service brake, and that can cause it to get quite crunchy and crispy at times. Yeah, plenty of electric cars around, BMW i3 there. Yeah, about as unremarkable as you'd expect, really. Just accelerate away. Ooh, yes. A useful amount of torque. So yeah, it must be said, with oil prices going the way they are, electric does seem more appealing all the time. I'm not sure I'm quite ready to hand over 27 grand just yet, or indeed able to, but it does start making you think. And we can easily keep up with a Range Rover Sport that isn't trying very hard at all. Yeah, just all the hallmarks of a decent electric vehicle. It's just peaceful, effortless, and if you actually just want to get from A to B, this is where electric cars absolutely score. There is just a little bit of wind noise I can hear, but of course when you've got no engine, you tend to pick up on all the little things a bit more. Overall, yeah, I think this is a really nice car to drive, and I think it feels better inside than other modern MGs I've driven. The MG3 and the MG GS were sort of MG getting established again in the European market, and I think the styling is more cohesive, and I think the interior, the design of the panels and everything is that much better. There's actually quite a lot of motor noise, but nonetheless it's quite peaceful, and the windscreen wiper performance is excellent, I would say. Just enough overlap just to avoid the triangle of doom, but the driver's blade goes very nicely to the edge of the screen. They've driven a few miles and we're still showing 152 miles of range. Right, and as we take it down a steep hill, this is where the regen really comes into play, because we've set it to maximum. That is an annoyance. Apparently you have to set it to maximum every time you start the car. It always goes back to the second level. But now you can drive down a really steep hill like this, and yeah, I'm off the pedal. We are charging quite nicely. In fact, I'm going to have to put my foot on the throttle a bit to reduce the regen. We're still not using power, but I'm just controlling the amount of regen with my foot, which is how I like my EVs to behave. It does give you that one pedal drive option. If we put it into oh yeah, there we go, put it into the lowest mode, suddenly I'm having to use the actual brake pedal, and that's not what I like at all. Yes, it's nice and peaceful. We can hear the bell, for it is Sunday morning. But yeah, this just feels a very competent car, and it's perhaps not that surprising. MG has a technical centre in the UK, so there are engineering teams making these cars better, more suitable for European roads here in the UK. Yeah, excellent door mirrors, but the casings on them are enormous. They do look a little vulnerable, especially on these tiny Devon roads. I should have noted how many miles were on it at the start, but we still got 148 miles of range apparently, despite driving for quite a few miles. Perhaps we got a few back coming down that big steep hill. Yes, I almost feel slightly ashamed as a petrol head, but I enjoy this experience so much. It just feels so much better in so many ways. Use the regen, so you're not just generating waste heat when you slow down, and it's just so peaceful and effortless to drive. The ride is really pretty good, I think, for a modern. Crashes a bit over the worst, but generally you can hear the suspension working, but you don't necessarily feel it. Oh, I've actually had to touch the brake pedal. Typical camper van. I was pulling to labour and get a bit of clear traffic action. We'll do that again. See what I shall actually do. Yep, that's a decent amount of acceleration. Entertainingly brisk, I would say. It's horribly addictive, that electric shove, because it just feels so effortless. You haven't got an engine trying hard. An electric motor just whirs gently and away you go. But it is so much more about the waft experience with electric cars, I find. Oh, I should point out it is an electronic handbrake as well, and I don't like those things. But yeah, this is more gentle acceleration, but still fairly brisk. And in 5,000 miles so far, this car has only had a problem with that slightly sticky door handle occasionally, and the brakes just getting a bit crusty, presumably mostly through lack of use. This feels dangerously tempting in a way. I don't think I'm quite ready to make the leap yet, but if I had to go modern, I would go modern for an electric. And so far, I'm finding very, very little reason, if any, to discount an MG from that equation. It just feels properly put together, and the driving dynamics are really pleasant. There we go. We even got a handy reversing camera, so it's a useful feature. But it just flagged up a warning to me that the wheel is not straight. But this wheel is perfectly straight. It's the outside ones I've left on an angle for artistic effect. Here comes the rear wiper test. Oh, that's quite pleasing. I do prefer it when the washer comes. Oh, there's the dribble wipe. Yeah, when the washer comes from the bottom. So that's somewhat better. So that was the really rather pleasant MG5. It's not the most imaginative of names, but yeah, it's actually a really pleasant car to drive. And yeah, I'm glad I finally ticked that one off. Temptation, that's a lot of money, isn't it? But yeah, very, very pleasant. So yeah, thank you very much for watching. Don't forget you can head to the Hubnut store. If you would like to purchase merchandise, there are links in the description, other ways to support. And don't worry, we'll be getting back to crusty old classics soon enough. See you in another video. I knew we couldn't resist.